Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Listen, I think they have Wall Street right where they want them. Now, all this is intertwined. It's all linked together. When you think about Wall Street, think about you have BlackRock making this push. You have Ripple making this push, right? Then I started to notice something. Did you see that the other day when Yahoo posted that positive article about XRP? I started to scratch my head. Mainstream doesn't typically, from what I've seen, I can only speak from my experience, I don't see them exactly praising bank coins all the time. What I've seen over the years is them speak sort of negatively or stay neutral and away from them. Meanwhile, they sprinkle a little bit of positive Bitcoin news here and there, but they really don't touch on the bank coin, especially XRP, too often. But they were just outright, it was just an outright positive article. I said, wait, that's interesting. Why is that? All right. I continue to do research. Then I see another article about a CNBC. Is it an interview? What was this? Let me click on this. Somewhere CNBC reported, it's coming from Google. CNBC reported that Ripple's new strategy aims to put XRP at the center of finance. And that's another thing. So they're not only speaking about Ripple when they're giving this praise, whether it's CNBC or Yahoo, whatever. They're specifically, I'm paying attention to it. They're specifically highlighting XRP. Why? For months and months, when they reference Ripple, they would always talk about RLUSD. Why? You have to ask the why. It is the most important tool, our most important weapon. Okay, so we have mainstream media making this as a little mini push. Who's it for? Who's it for? Wait, let's go back here. Let me go back. I'm going to connect this all together. I'm going to show you this is a setup, but it's not a setup for regular people. Who are they trying to set up? I've been saying it for a long time. Now we're seeing proof. They're setting up, and I told you, they want that capital that's locked up. They want that value that's locked up. They want that value that's in the hands of small businesses, medium-sized businesses, not just in the U.S., globally. They know who influences whom. If they can take Wall Street, think about this for a moment. And they're all in on it. BlackRock is in on it with Ripple. Ripple's in on it with BlackRock. We know this now. You see it now. In my humble opinion, have you not seen enough evidence? They're setting it. They know Wall Street. If they can take Wall Street, they know all the other businesses will look at that because traditionalists, they have respect for Wall Street. They still believe Wall Street is what it was long time ago, even though it's not. But they still believe that, and they have that mind state. They have that respect. So if Wall Street does something, everyone else looks and says, they're getting into that. Maybe we should also. They're trying to make money. They're money makers, right? That's the energy that is still pervading everywhere. So that Wall Street makes money. And they say, wait a minute, they're getting into DLT? What are they buying? They buy some Bitcoin? Let me get some. I want some Bitcoin. Small and medium-sized businesses might say. They know that. What are they getting? Some XRP? Some Solana? Oh, they said they have ETFs. They won't listen when we say it, independent researchers, sovereigns. But they do listen when the mainstream people speak. Why that is? Hey, that's just the way that it is. But to know that is to have a very important piece of information. So now that we have that, why is that valuable to know that? Because if they pull this off, that's trillions of dollars. That's continuity of value flow. They will squeeze that sponge, the small, medium-sized business, global sponge, for all it's worth. They always wanted that. The banks want it. When it comes to the larger banks versus the small and medium-sized banks, we know that war's been going on. The businesses as well, regular businesses, same thing. This financial war is about to pop off and spark. And the ones who benefit the most are bank coin holders. They got in early. And yes, has there been a lot of selling? Of course, it's going to be that way. To each his own. Everyone walks their own path. But there's a few who might remain. Not financial advice. I'm just sharing my opinion. Nothing more than that. There's a few who will remain in. And if we're talking trillions from the businesses, trillions from the, RWA, that's another thing. Folks, you don't get them saying things like this. This is from Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock. Quote, tokenization will revolutionize investing. You don't say, Larry. Really? So with tokenization, you need bridge currencies, don't you, Larry? Don't you, Mr. Fink? Yeah, you do. Where do you get that neutral platform that China respects, that Australia respects, that all these places that you want to deal with respect to trade? You're going to trade everything, aren't you? Yeah? Not just BlackRock, Mr. Finks, all the Finks out there. No. We have to extrapolate this thought. BlackRock, large asset managers and companies in Europe, US, China, they're all going to be trading everything. So when we think about RWA tokenization, you have to include everything in it. That's trillions upon trillions of dollars. We have to think oil. We have to think rice. We have to think stocks. We have to think it all. It's all going to be tokenized. They've already said it. Trillions. But wait. Let's go back again. You need a bridge currency for that. What bridge currency has corridors all around the world? XRP. The bank coins. XRP, Hedera, Stellar, Algorand. Who's built the corridors all around the world? We have. You didn't. Who's neutral? We are. You're not. Who can move anywhere at any time? We can't. You can't. Who can create external liquidity pools? We can't. You can't. So then those trillions have to come through us. You only win through us. Unless someone can show me an alternative, which they do not have. The legacy system is all siloed. It's all fragmented, broken apart. You had the ECB, Christine Lagarde, talk about it. You had the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva talk about it recently. You've had the BIS speak about it recently. All of this can be researched. Let those fingers catch fire typing on that keyboard. And you do a little search, you're going to read all of this. Even the Fed has spoken on fragmentation. We have the key. We have the key. Bridge currencies, liquidity, external liquidity, because the internal, have you seen it now? People talking about it. You seen it now? The problem, I told you, I exposed it all of it. Watch those last 4 members only videos. I like to watch things all the way through, but if they have YouTube is deploying all these new mechanisms. If they have new mechanism where it can give you a summary, give a summary. But it's not going to give you all the information that's in the videos, but get a summary. Do the chapters thing. Sometimes YouTube does chapters on its own. If I don't put chapters, use the chapter. Whatever you have to do. The information is in there. Now you see others talking about it because it can't be avoided. But you got it early. You got all that information early about these problems in the mainstream financial system that nobody else knows about. And it gets, what's wild? It gets deeper. Wait until I drop part 2. We didn't even get to part 2. You notice that? There's a reason for it. I'm just collecting. I'm letting them bury themselves. I'm just collecting information for a video that should be ground shaking. In my humble opinion. That's why it's been part 1, part 1.2, 1.5, 1.7. We didn't get to 2 yet. Just wait. But you don't get them speaking like this, circling back around. So Larry Fink says that Broadridge Financial Solutions from their 2024 survey report. Here's a quote from that. DLT is no longer experimental. It's becoming a core. What? It's becoming a core part of the financial infrastructure. What type of DLT are you talking about? And when they're talking about the financial infrastructure, they didn't localize it, did they? In this phrasing, in this verbiage, do they localize that? No, they didn't. Know why? Because they're looking at it globally. Well, if you look at it globally, then what technologies are at the forefront of moving things globally? Bridge currencies, things that have bridge currency capability, offline QR code capability, because you have to reach into those regions where they have massive oil. Did you hear about the oil that was uncovered in Latin America recently? You hear about that? A new place. Massive amount. I think was it Guyana? Look that up. I think it was Guyana. Is it Guyana? I think it's Guyana. Look that up. Guyana oil. They uncovered massive new amounts of it that can be accessed. You think they're not going to tokenize that? Huh? folks. So in places where maybe, and I'm not familiar with the entirety of Guyana, although a lot of people that are very close to me in my life since I was little, I'm talking about in my youth, they were close to me, their entire families. So I'm pretty familiar with Guyanese people and culture. But I don't know the actual country that well. But in places where it may be a little bit spotty with internet and internet signals, you need offline QR code capability. Why? For payments. Also, why? For traceability, because oil goes missing. How do we know that? How do you know, Mick? Oil goes missing. So it'll be tokenized heavily because they said it when we used to cover oil on the channel heavily. A lot of you weren't around back then, but we did. And that was a complaint. Oil would just poof, go missing. Somebody took it. Somebody sold it. Who knows? That can't be. We're talking millions of dollars worth. No. No one wants to lose money. They're going to track it. Yes, they are. On what systems? What systems? They're moving oil all over the place. Europe has a problem right now, do they not? This is all tied into XRP, all tied into the new financial system. XRP is deep in Europe. XRP is deep in Latin America. So are a lot of the other bank coins in Latin America. You got Algorand there. You got Hedera there. You got Stellar. I beg your pardon. Stellar has a little activity there. Europe, XRP is deep there. Okay, so those are two. Also in Europe, Quant is deep there. Stellar is deep there. Algorand is deep there. Algorand has some banks in Italy. But hey, it's up to you. You look that up. That's up to you. But I'm showing there's a correlation there. Bank coins deep in these regions. Regions are deep in oil as something that's going to be heavily tokenized with a lot of value. Hence why and I'm just showing you they're going to tokenize everything, because when they speak about RWA tokenization, they're always talking about the same thing. Oh, stocks are going to be the stock. We heard that already. We know. I'm trying to open your mind to see this is bigger than the typical stuff that is discussed. This gets deeper. And when I say deep, it's an ocean of value, an ocean of capital, which then gives you more information to work with if you're making calculations. So now correlation, and let's close this little piece out here. Europe has an oil problem. They're being pressured right now to find other oil providers other than Russia. Okay, well, that's a problem. Let's say, why would you not then look at someone who just, let's say, why would they not at least consider Guyana? If you're going to say, well, it's low grade oil. What does that mean? What do you mean by that? Is there a problem with the refining of it? Can we build facilities? How long does that take to build a facility to increase the substantialness of the oil? I mean, I don't know the intricacies of that, but if that's a possibility, they can negotiate with them. But the point is, if they wanted to move that value of it, because it's traded as well as used, then traceability is an issue also, like I said, but you use DLT systems for both trading it and traceability. How else do you do that without a neutral system? You need a neutral system no matter what. All the systems that they're building, no matter which companies it is, US-based, UK-based central bank systems, and EU, SWIFT, they're all just connector pieces. You notice that? They don't survive without the chosen technology provider, the preferred DLT, the preferred technology provider, DLT provider, which is what all banks must choose. We have them right where we want them for now. I don't know what tomorrow brings. I can only tell you about now, okay? Tomorrow's tomorrow. The next week is next week. That's why we stay updated. Things change all the time. Change is the only constant. Let's go back here. So then they say, it's becoming a core part of the financial infrastructure. Of course, you don't have them saying this if they're not going for the big money globally. Post Trade 360, it says, this was at a DLT consortium, quote, big players are grouping to build DLT platforms for alternative assets. What's alternative assets? Signaling. What does that fully encompass? Fully. Not just a superficial that we hear all the time. Fully. It's signaling a shift toward tokenized private markets. Folks, let's go down here. So the typical things we hear about: U.S. equities being tokenized, carbon credits, treasury bonds, etc. This is what I'm talking about. They feed you the same things over time. What I want you to know are things that are not widely thought about. So then you go to the list of what actually is going to be traded. You get past U.S. Treasuries, corporate bonds, equities, private equity, real estate, commodities, carbon credits, art and collectibles. I told you. Fine art, rare wines, luxury goods, all need traceability, all going to be traded around the world. Someone in China is going to want something from the U.S. Someone from the U.S. is going to want something from China. These things are going to move and make a lot of value. You need neutral bridge currency for that. Now, with the banking problems that are occurring right now, with liquidity problems all over the place. I mean, you have one piece of the U.S. government, which we just read from experts, influences the entirety of the world. So now I don't have to just say that, and I'm standing alone in saying that. And I'm, people can say, well, you're going off of your own research and speculation. We read it from experts. Okay, so let's just let that be established. You don't have to agree with it. I'm fine with that as well. That's okay. So the U.S. financial system, the governing forces within that, are literally stepping on each other's toes. One is trying to do something, and let's say it's positive. The other one's doing something that's completely opposite to that. That's negative. What is going on there? There's a problem there, folks. There's a problem there. So they have to insulate themselves from such. Now, if you've been watching the members only videos, how much value does the FDIC work with? If there was a problem to pop up, that pops off, that arises. All right, they only have, let's say they have, they insure it up to $250,000. I think they have $10 billion limit, something like that. Then if that runs out $10 billion, you have trillions in dollars in unrealized losses and uninsured deposits, even more than, I believe it's equal to or even more than that. Trillions also. Nonetheless, look up the numbers. Then you can only borrow from the Fed. You can only borrow 100 billion. What's 100 billion going to do when there's trillions that are on the line? Right? Think about that for a minute. Something doesn't seem right. Is it rigged? I don't know. You tell me. I'm just asking questions. So to insulate, I'm just showing there's massive problems in the legacy financial system, which anyone who's a large asset manager who wants to protect themselves from, hence everybody's buying gold. They want to protect themselves from that. They have to have what? Treasuries, liquidity pools, liquidity tokens can generate massive what? Liquidity pools, cushions. We even saw we read documents from experts recently using that verbiage that I've been using for years. I never heard anybody use that before, that I was using. Not saying that they didn't. I'm just saying that's interesting. Liquidity cushion. So I feel justified in using that phrase. They're building liquidity cushions. They're going to need external liquidity cushions that are separate from the system that is burning down. Why would you trust the system that's burning down? So I would very much watch that. That's a huge advantage for liquidity tokens like XRP. Huge advantage. Everybody should feel great about that. 100%. And I was also trying to show in the other video the other day, they've tried to focus everyone's minds on cross-border payments. So much cross-border payments. I've been speaking about interbank payments since the beginning of this channel. Have I not? Interbank. They don't want people thinking about those interbank payments that XRP was made for. It was made for interbank payments. Why don't they talk about that more? Bank-to-bank transactions of all kinds. How many are going on daily? 800,000 in one system. Millions in another system, trillions of dollars daily. Why are they not talking about that? Oh, XRP and CBDCs, XRP and cross-border pay. Let's talk that interbank money. Let's just jump right into that interbank situation, which itself has been having problems. My word. All right, so let's go here. I know I'm giving you I'm trying to give you as many potent thoughts as I can. If you look up all those topics that I was just talking about, all those little subjects, whatever, look them up. You're going to be led somewhere very interesting. I'm telling you, get a chance, dig into the U.S. financial system. You want to know more? Dig into China's financial system. Oh, they're world powers. So what you're telling me is everyone that they're intertwined with, if there is a problem, they should beware, and that there's contagion that expands beyond. When you say things like that, you tell me there's contagion that expands beyond their borders, correct? You can't have them be world powers, world influencers, and then negate or subrate that type of connection and influence. Hence, why they're buying up bank coins for liquidity pools, treasuries, whatever, reserves, all these nomenclatures, nonsensical. But they all boil down to the same thing. Why? What? I thought ETFs were enough. Oh, they're not now. Oh, all of a sudden they're not. Oh, we got to have treasuries. That's interesting. Why? For every effect, there is a cause. What is the cause? Okay. That's interesting. They're all buying gold. Wait a minute. Gold is a protective asset. What are they protecting themselves from? If there's nothing that they're afraid of, nothing that they're concerned about, why are they protecting themselves in a massive rate with a massive amount of gold? Can you explain that to me? Right. Okay. Let's go here. So, yes, I'm having fun. I love it. It's like an adventure. It's like being a detective on the greatest case of all time, and you're this close to cracking the case. That's what it feels like. My grandfather was a detective, and I always wanted to, how could I say this with being respectful? I always wanted to prove to my father that I was a greater detective than my grandfather, that I was the greatest detective the family ever saw. Yeah, I feel like that. Now, my grandfather, he passed away a long time ago when my father was still young, so I'll never get a chance to go mine for mine with him. But you could bet your last dollar that if he was living, I will go mine for mine with him. And we will find out who's the greatest detective in the family. Just because I'm competitive like that. I am. And I want to go against the best. And I heard all the stories. Okay, you're the best. If I want the crown, I want to be the best. I know I have to beat the best. So here, when I'm looking at things like this, when I'm looking at crypto, and crypto's not the biggest thing that I research, not at all. I do a lot of work outside of crypto, and that is much more substantial. But with crypto, I take it very serious. This is the big case. We're in a historic moment, and I take it very serious. So anyway, I just wanted to share that a little bit. Sometimes we share around here, sometimes we don't. Yeah. When I was younger, one of my old, I tell this all the time, I know, but he was my boss, or the president of the company at the time, but we were also like friends, you know what I mean? So we would just always talk and stuff like that. And, I just like how he used to tell stories. So I says to this guy, we're going to do this article here. And, I says to him, he said that. He says, I says to him. I'm like, bro, that's a cool accent. I don't care what nobody say. That's a cool accent. All right. So now let's do this article. Hey, calm down. Get serious. You're playing around too much. Okay. All right. Let's bring it back. Professional level. Sometimes I got to calm you down. Sometimes. So this article here, we just jump through this real quickly, and then we'll get to some Bitcoin news. So this is coming from Google. XRP news, ETF launch dates confirmed. This is what they're saying. I'm just going to read it to you. All right. Do your own research on this. ETF launch dates confirmed as Wall Street turns to Ripple's token. Turns to Ripple's token? All right. You mean XRP? Folks, why do they say Ripple's token? Just say XRP. What are you trying to hide? You notice that? That's strange to me. Just say XRP. XRP is popular. Has a massive fans globally. And still you say Ripple's token. Maybe I don't know. I think that's strange. It just seems like they don't want to say XRP's name. I don't know. One could make the argument, well, Mick, they're more familiar with Ripple. We don't, like, people want our XRP, whether Ripple's there or not. That's what people don't get. That's what the mainstream doesn't get. They connect everything to companies. Listen, there's a lot of companies using XRP. What we're concerned with is XRP. That's the star here. XRP, not Ripple, not even XRP is the star. Even to Ripple, XRP is the star. They don't have Ripple tattooed on their body. Brad Garlinghouse, he has XRP tattooed on his body. There's a reason for that. Anyway, so it says here, the first U.S. spot XRP ETF from Canary Capital is set to launch on the NASDAQ on November 13th under the ticker XRPC. This is happening as more institutional players like Franklin Templeton, 21 shares, Bitwise, CoinShares, Grayscale, and WisdomTree prepare their own XRP ETFs for launch between November 18th and November 25th. This wave of new products signals increased institutional interest in XRP. Yes, it does. What's going to be interesting is to see if everybody takes their eye off of all that treasury development. All that treasury activity. Does it get quiet for a while? Do they do it quietly? While everyone's looking at ETFs. ETFs! Look, guys, this is happening with ETFs. Meanwhile, over there, all this accumulation of treasuries and reserves or XRP is happening quietly. Do people take their eye off the ball, or do people maintain a balance maybe? And we're erudite, we're wise, so we're watching everything. A lot of people don't do that. I'm not taking my eye off the ball. No, I'm watching everything. Like I got 1,000 eyes. Let's keep going. Okay, so it says here Canary Capital spot XRP ETF November 13th. It says other XRP ETFs, Franklin Templeton set to launch on the SIBO on November 18th. 21 shares Bitwise CoinShares products scheduled for launch between November 20th and 22nd. Grayscale and WisdomTree says ETFs planned for launch on the New York Stock Exchange on November 25th. All right. So once more, folks, so that's the dates that they're putting out there. Once more, do your own research on that. This is simply what they're saying. All right. You make sure that you get a second source, third source to confirm these dates. That's how my father taught me. He said, don't ever go with one source. He said, make sure you have two or three to be certain. And back then he was speaking not just in research, but he would also say that with doctors as well. He said, Mick, don't just get one opinion, get two or three if you ever have to go to a doctor. I was like, okay, I understand that there's this consistency. Always have a multitude of sources to figure out what's closest to the truth. That makes sense. So now let's go here. Oh, my word. Okay, let's get to the Bitcoin news. I just saw the time. I want to make sure I have enough time to get this out. And I have some more research I have to do because I completed everything else for the day earlier. Now I'm doing this here, and I have more research to do for the next members only video, which I want to be impactful. I'm not certain that it's going to be the number 2, because here's the thing with the number 2 video, the evidence that I'm trying to gather the most potent evidence I could for that one. But then there's this other pool of information that's growing. It's like, well, this is potent as well. Let me put this one out while I'm working on this one here. That makes sense. Anyway, so this article is titled Bitcoin ETFs See Modest Inflows. I thought I had another Bitcoin article here. I suppose not. And I just went past an article, folks, that I have for one of these upcoming members only videos. That is very potent. But let me not look at that because I don't want to get excited. I don't. When I start getting excited, I want to do it. And I know I don't have enough time right now. So once more, Bitcoin ETFs see modest inflows as Solana stays hot. I expect nothing less from Solana I expect a bright future for Solana. Let me just put it that way. The new week kicked off with subdued exchange traded fund activity as Bitcoin saw a marginal 1.15 million inflow and Ether funds stayed flat. Solana ETFs, however, kept their momentum alive, adding another $6.78 million in investor inflows. Wait until that institutional staking goes wild on Solana. Then watch what happens. And they've been speaking about it, but it's just sad that when they do speak about that, it gets buried so quickly. But we did cover it on the channel in one of the videos we put out in the last 2 weeks, I believe it was. And we covered an article about it. A quiet Monday, November 10th, opened the new trading week for digital asset ETFs, offering a stark contrast to the volatility of early November. Bitcoin ETFs barely managed to stay in the green, while Ether ETFs remained completely flat. Solana continued its unbroken streak of inflows, a sign that investors are slowly warming up to the third largest crypto network's growing appeal. Also, there's been a lot of institutional push for other companies to get involved with Solana. We've read that as well. Whether that influence actually is working or not, who's to know? Who can know that? But this is what they said that they were attempting to do. Bitcoin ETFs recorded a modest inflow of 1.15. Why did they repeat that from the top again once more? My apologies, folks. Once more, I have to wonder. Is this AI writing the article or helping them with it? I don't know. Why would a person repeat the same thing they already said at the top in the top first paragraph in the second paragraph? Modest inflow. It's almost the same wording. I'm going to skip that piece. Despite minimal inflows, trading volumes remained robust at $4.15 billion, with total net assets rising slightly to $141.54 billion. No, I don't believe AI will ever replace people when it comes to writing, talent, creativity, charisma. So can it enhance someone? Can it teach them things? Yes. Can it be a useful tool? Yes, but I don't think it should ever be used as a replacement. My humble opinion, as a replacement. There's something special about how people speak, no matter where they come from, how they convey things. It's just, I don't know. I can feel the human element there. And I don't know. I question that. I don't see a lot of people they're repeating lines and when they're typing like that. I don't like it. I don't like that. Anyway, let's continue on. All right. So listen up, folks. Let's go. Do we have a little time for just a wee bit of gold? Let me squeeze in a little bit of gold here. Okay. Gold jumps silver soars to $53. Ooh, I like gold and silver. You know that I love gold. And I like silver. Let me tell you something, sir and madam. I like silver. Is that does that like a good cowboy down south accent from the past? That's a good right there. I like good silver. And now I'm sounding like, what's that chicken, that cartoon chicken? What was that cartoon chicken? He's like, I say. I cannot remember for the life of me. My apologies, folks. I can't remember. But you remember there was like a popular cartoon chicken. I keep saying that because I'm trying to jog my memory. When I say chicken, it's like the name is right there. I just can't remember it. It says gold jumped and silver prices leapt on Wednesday, slashing the, quote, safe haven, unquote, precious metals value relative to its more industrially useful cousin to the lowest in a month at the Federal Reserve signal. As the Federal Reserve signal, it's about to restart buying bonds to ensure, quote, ample liquidity. Really, Fed? Really, Fed, do you really want to speak about liquidity? You sure about that? Ample liquidity. That's what you're saying. You sure you want to say you're saying that? And are you telling me that you're not a liar? Are you going to tell me that? All right. Not you people out there. It's me and the Fed. I'm just talking to the Fed. Okay. All right. You don't mind if we dig a little deeper, do you? You don't mind. All right. Okay. Liquidity while global stock markets rose ahead of U.S. politicians. Voting to end the record-long shutdown of U.S. government services. Did it happen or not? Did they reopen everything or not? I don't. Let's move on. I like to read fun things, interesting things, and I don't find that fun or interesting. U.S. stock markets open. I'm gonna survive no matter what. Some people are like, no, Mick, you got to know about these things. Listen, I personally feel I'm going to survive no matter what. I'm going to do whatever it takes to survive. Me and anyone that I love, period. Despite what others do. So I don't like to waste my time with a bunch of people that are arguing all the time and doing things that are detrimental. I don't care what side they're on. I'm a sovereign. I don't play those tribalistic games. That's just my humble opinion. That's how I like to live. That's how I've always liked to exist. But let's continue on. U.S. stock markets opened higher in European bourses, hit new all-time records as gold priced in dollars rallied from $4,100 per troy ounce to hit a new 3-week high at $4,180, a fresh record gold high only a month ago, after New York Fed Chief John Williams said it will soon be time to, quote, to begin the process of gradual purchases of assets to maintain ample level of reserves. Once more, Fed, I'm looking at you with a, I'm going to get on you, don't you? To meet commercial bank demand for liquidity. You're like, Mick, they don't know about you at the Fed. You weren't here since the beginning of the channel, huh? We used to call the Fed. Yeah. I used to write the Fed, call the Fed, get information from the Fed, etc. Yeah, in the earlier days, we were putting in work. So I don't know if those people are still there, but I wouldn't say they're not familiar. Let's go. So silver had already shot higher, rising above $52 per troy ounce. Also a new all-time high when first reached this time last month, before breaking $53 trade to 9.8% above last week's level. Okay, well, you know, that article there, let's go here. Gold's current price. I just want to see. That article was a little bit confusing to me. Ooh, gold is up 85.10. Price right currently $4,201.40. Looks good to me. Long gone are the days of a $1,400, $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 gold. Long time since then, is it not? All right, so gold is looking fantastic, in my humble opinion. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, everybody, let's get to the money.